I call the next part of the Dinner Special podcast the pressure cooker. I'm going to ask you 7 fast and fun questions that we want to know your answers to. Are you up for
Okay.
it?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, number 1, which food show or cooking shows do you watch? I know you mentioned that you don't have cable anymore, but which food shows do you watch?
Um, so I watch MasterChef Junior. Um, when I'm over at like my in-laws or my mom's house, I watch Chopped. That's always fun. Sometimes we pause it and we say like what we would do with the ingredients if we were given the basket. Um, I think that's probably, I don't watch a lot of food TV anymore these days.
Okay, cool. Number 2, what are some food blogs or food websites we have to know about?
Food blogs. Okay. Wow, there are a lot. Of course, now that I'm on this spot, I'm not going to be able to think of all of them. Um, I really love I Am a Food blog. I think everything that Stephanie makes is just like, I want to eat it immediately. Two Red Bowls. The photography is ridiculous. Um, Fix Feast Flair. Um, Kale and Caramel. I've only been reading Kale and Caramel in like the last probably 6 months, but her voice is, I feel like I just want to be friends with Lily in real life. She cracks me up, and she does a really good job of doing what I really like in food blogs, which is like pairing a little bit more of like personal anecdotes with recipes. She does a lot of that. Um, Bev Cooks was one of the first food blogs that I read like back in the day. She is hilarious, and she has two kiddos. She has twins, and they're like the most adorable people ever. Her Instagram is just ridiculous. Wit and Vinegar. Billy's really funny. I think his aesthetic is super different from anything that anyone else is doing. I really like reading Dessert for Two because Christina's got a little one that is Lana's age. So it's been fun like reading her blog and kind of seeing her daughter at the same stage that Lana's at. And like we were pregnant at the same time. We're not like BFFs or anything, but I stalked her like throughout our pregnancies, and that was really fun. Let's see. I don't know. That might be it. Oh, Chocolate and Marrow. I really like Chocolate and Marrow. Brooke just does like crazy creative stuff, like really, really delicious things. Um, really indulgent and just beautiful stuff.
Perfect. Well, that's a bunch to get started
I
with.
know that's a lot, and there's probably I'm sure that as we keep talking, I'll think of like 10 more that I should have mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much talent out there. Number 3, who do you follow on Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, or Snapchat that make you happy?
Oh, Snapchat, I just haven't really gotten into yet. I would say of those things, I probably use Instagram the most. That make me happy. Well, I follow a bunch of food bloggers, so everyone that I mentioned in the food blog thing, I follow them on Instagram too, probably. Bev Cooks, like I mentioned, her twins on Instagram, her captions are just hilarious, and her kids are really fun. Um, if we're saying that makes me happy, Violet Tinder, she's really great. She has just like this super like rainbow hued, really fun Instagram, and she does a lot of like candy colored things and watercolors, and everything is just like super poppy, neon bright. Um, Miss New Foodie is really funny. She has some pretty funny captions for all of her indulgent eats. Uh, yeah, there are so many people that I follow on Instagram who honestly, this is awful, but like I don't even know what their real names are. I don't even know. I couldn't tell you their handle off the top of my head. I just recognize who they are when they come up.
Right. Well, I mean, those are few for us to start.
Yeah.
Well, and we can also go on your Instagram to check out who you're following too, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
awesome. Number 4, what is the most unusual or treasured item you have in your kitchen?
Um, okay, well, the thing that's the most treasured in my current kitchen, it's not even mine because I rent, but it's our stove. We have a vintage Wedgwood stove in this kitchen that's incredible. It's really petite. The oven portion is really petite, but it like heats up super fast and evenly. It's got like a legit broiler, which I mentioned earlier, that like really gets the job done. Um, In terms of like an appliance, I have a garlic press, the same garlic press that I mentioned earlier, where I think it's called the garlic twist, maybe. It's like this big piece of acrylic. And rather than like crushing garlic through it, you put the garlic in and you twist it. And because it's like one piece of plastic, like it rinses out super easily. I use it probably every day, and it's not like the garlic presses where there's like all the little holes that you have to get all the stuff out of.
Yeah, those are so hard to wash.
No, yeah, it's so silly. This is like I'm not a big like gadget person, and this is one gadget that it truly only does one thing, but I use it every day. And then I have a couple of like vintage cast iron pieces from my grandfather that they are more display pieces. I don't use them all that often, but they add a lot of character to my kitchen. I love those.
Perfect. Well, can you name one ingredient, actually number 5, name one ingredient you used to dislike that you now love?
There aren't a lot of things I don't like. I don't really love mustard, or I didn't really love mustard, particularly yellow mustard, but I didn't really use like any mustard. And now, maybe because my husband is like a huge mustard aficionado, I've come around on mustard. I actually really like hot horseradishy mustards, more so than like a yellow mustard, but I used to like really not be a fan of yellow mustard, and I can at least tolerate it now.
Perfect. Number 6, what are a few cookbooks that make your life better?
Let's see. I have a lot of cookbooks that I read like cover to cover. I don't necessarily cook from. Cookbooks that are super useful would be like, I'm an awful baker, so I have to rely heavily on cookbooks for baking, or at least for like measurements that I can gain inspiration from. So the Williams-Sonoma baking cookbook is really great. It's got tons of cool recipes, but it's also just good for if I need like a jumping off point for an idea that I have. So that's a good book. I mentioned I Am a Food Blog earlier, and her book Easy Gourmet is great. I've given it to a bunch of people because it's just like exactly what it says. Easy Gourmet, it's really accessible. Anything by America's Test Kitchen is good for the same reason as the Williams-Sonoma baking book. You just know that everything's really thoroughly tested and it's a good jumping off point. I still have a subscription to Bon Appetit and Gourmet. I know that that's not a book, but those are good for keeping me kind of aware of food trends and things like that.
Perfect. And finally, number 7, what song or album just makes you want to cook?
Well, I always had this vision that if I ever quit my day job and I got to just spend all day cooking in my kitchen, that I would do it like listening to Carole King or Adele on the record player. So I guess I'd say both of those ladies. And then for something maybe a little bit more like poppy, I really like I'll dance in my kitchen to Britney Spears or Nelly Furtado, like early 2000s Nelly Furtado.
Yep.
The Who, it's really fun. Yeah, I guess.
Cool.
That's it.
I would dance to Britney Spears as well. Congratulations, Em. You have officially survived the pressure cooker.